Welcome to Ladies-in-Law, where real-world advice meets professional wisdom and empowerment in realms of law and business. Your hosts, Lisa Goucher, Dawn Smith, and Kellye Raymond, bring you innovative strategies, practical guidance, and inspirational stories. Join us as we inspire and support women to thrive in traditionally male-dominated fields. We're here to promote inclusivity and provide practical advice for success. Lisa here with Kellye and Dawn. Today we're talking about branding, how to stand out in the legal environment. Dawn?
Standing out in the legal environment is hard. There's lots of people. I don't know. How do we do it? What's a good way?
I am admittedly not an expert in this field like you all are because my brand is my name. And I learned early in my career, first off, let's start with this. You do have to have a brand. You've got to have a logo. You do have to have some sort of presence. But I think it's about figuring out how to find the lane that is going to work best for your business. When I started my company, I hired a branding and marketing expert, Marin Davis from Local Collaborative. Great company, woman owned. She's fantastic. She built out my website. She built my logo. She would post on social media for me. Now, what I had to learn is that I don't generate business on social media. My clients don't go looking for a jury consultant in the phone book. And so I realized that for my business, I didn't necessarily need constant engagement to translate into business. But that's very, very unique. And most people do need constant engagement to drive business.
You know, I was just thinking about that, Kellye, because you were talking about being in front of people. And when you go to networking events, you haven't talked to somebody in a while and you're front of mind. So they're like, hey, I've been meaning to talk to you. So I was just thinking about that with social media and branding is you're getting yourself in front of people so that they think about you in the context of what you do. So I think that that's maybe a relatable kind of a relatable topic there for you because it's really important to be in front of people. So if you are in someone's feed or and you resonate, your name comes to mind when somebody's thinking of a jury consultant and they see you every month or something like that. I don't know. I know you don't need any more business than you already have right now.
It's a very fortunate problem to have. But it is something that I struggle with because I don't like social media. I'm not a huge fan. I think sometimes I struggle with the inauthenticity that comes with social media. And so how are y'all using social media to build and promote your brand?
Well, first of all, let's back up a little bit because I think we're talking about two things. We are talking about social media branding and personal branding. So you may not be active on social media, but so for instance, Dawn, you have attorneys at your firm and they need to do personal branding. So they need to figure out what's unique about them. They don't need to brand Smith Kleinsmith. That's been branded. So for those of you who work at firms or work at companies, you need to think about the company itself has branded itself. You may work there, you may be part of the team, but you need to look at yourself personally and figure out what is unique about me. What do I do? And then if you want to be on social media as well, you take those 5 things, typically that was like a gauge in what we did. It was like, okay, when I decided I wanted to do personal branding, how did I want to identify myself? So I wanted to be a boutique firm. I wanted to be all about customer service. I wanted my face to be the face of the company, which Kellye, you resonate with that. So do you, Dawn. And, then there were a couple other things. And so then my social media was all about those 5 things. What you want to do when you're personally branding is you really want to figure out and hone in on what is true to you. And the thing that folks get concerned about is creating the content and concerned that oh my gosh, I'm putting myself out there too much. It's too much related to social media. I got to tell you, people are not watching everything that you do.
That's right.
So that's a very good
They are really not. And the best advice I ever got was get over yourself. Nobody cares that much.
That is so
And
true.
it really resonated with me. So that was what pushed me outside of my comfort zone as it relates to social media, to really get on there and be my authentic self.
You know who's done a great job with this is Sarah Williams. She works for Shannara, and a big firm out of Alabama. And Sarah,
Fantastic trial lawyer.
fantastic trial lawyer, and she was really. I love to listen to her. I follow her, and really her story resonates. I think to so many people because she really worked her way up. She was a primary person at Shannara's firm and really kind of the managing partner for a long time. And she really had to take a step back because she wasn't doing what she loved. She was really kind of just working within the business, just kind of just making sure that his message was being pushed forward. And she took a step back and she said, wait a second, I'm unique. I have some unique qualities. I have something different to offer. And she started really working on her personal brand, and her boss 100% supported her. So I think that's it. You got to find what's your story. How are you unique? What can you offer that's different? And just really build on that.
Well, I think culturally too, we have really shifted because it used to be self-promotion is bad. Inherently bragging about yourself and your accomplishments was viewed more negatively, especially with women, right?
True.
Women were not supposed to be boasting about their accomplishments but that's what branding and that's what self-promotion is, right? You have to put yourself out there and strive to create this message. But do we have to have a personal brand? Is that something that if you are going to survive and thrive in business, do we have to have a personal brand?
So it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. I mean, are you somebody that wants to work behind the scenes? Are you somebody that wants to be part of the team? I mean, we got to have team players, but then you have to have some people that are willing to kind of stand forward, stand up, move out, to build something. If you're trying to do something great, right? If you're trying to make an impact on a large level, on a big scale, then you've got to step out of your comfort zone. You've got to put yourself out there and really try to build something big and great. I mean, I think some people don't have that vision. Some people have no desire to do something like that. And there's a place for everyone because maybe you love the brand that you're a part of. I think that's just kind of a segue into something else. I mean, you've got to love where you are and what you're doing, or just leave. Just go somewhere else. I mean, life is too short to be working somewhere if you don't love it. I mean, we all have bad days. We all have days that aren't perfect, and it's not 100% all the time. But if you're where you feel like you can grow and learn, then you don't necessarily have to build your personal brand.
Okay, but I'm talking to the more ambitious because I think it's a necessity. But I realize what you're saying. In the days of old, there would be a couple of rainmakers, and those individuals would bring in the business and everybody else would work it. Well, that has totally evolved where almost every single person is viewed as an opportunity to bring in business. So if you really do want to take it next level, then you cultivate what your personal brand is, figure out what that is, and you begin to evolve in that direction so that you too could be a rainmaker, so that you could go beyond maybe just doing the work at the office.
Yeah, so all the folks at our firm, all the lawyers that work with us, they know that if they bring in a case, they're going to get a referral on that. And I think some of them just don't take it as seriously as they should. If you bring in a case, you can get a big chunk of that case and that comes from personal branding. That comes from your networks. That comes from all of the great work that you've done and built to have a situation to where somebody will come to you and say, hey, I have this case. Are you interested?
But they have to put themselves out there on their social media or networking that's what they do.
That's
so
right.
I was just reading this article, not related to the law, not really related to business, but it had to do with branding. And an author was trying to get her book published. And several big publishing companies said, well, you don't have a big personal brand. You don't have this big following. So it seems we've really shifted from the work driving the brand to the branding and the outward appearance sort of driving the work, it's a little bit scary for me because sometimes, and this going back to sort of authenticity on social media, sometimes the branding is great and the social media looks great. Does the substance match that level?
Yeah, it has to. I think that's the next level, right? We've gone through this evolution to where you could kind of put this brand out there, but not really be that brand. But now our society is so
wiser.
Yes. And just so involved, we're seeing more and more every day. You can't really hide. So you have to have that authenticity. And I mean, we use Legends Legal Marketing. They're doing our branding for this podcast because we know how important it is. We want to be authentic. We want to make sure that our message is consistent across the three of us. We've come together to create a brand. So you've got to have the support. I think if you're doing it the right way, you have to have both. You have to build from from inside out to support your businesses. Like you're talking about with that author. That's crazy. No matter how great the book is, it's perfect. No matter how great of a court reporter company you have, no matter how great of a jury consultant you are, if people don't know about you, you're not going to get business.
Right.
No matter how good of a lawyer I am, I'm not going to get business if people don't know who I am.
Well, certainly in the age of the first thing that we do is Google, right? We hear about something, be it a lawyer or a restaurant. The first thing that we want to do is Google and see what those reviews are and see what the online presence is and what people are saying. I think it's just crucial to make sure that your self-branding is authentic to you. It's like when you see a picture of somebody on social media and then you meet them in person and you're like, you don't quite look like your picture. That's kind of a very surface way of looking at it, but is the substance matching the level of branding that you are promoting? I think you have to make sure that it's on par.
Substance and persona.
Absolutely.
They have to match up.
And I would argue substance is more important than whatever ultimately becomes the branding. There's obviously a place for it that needs to be cultivated. And I think, Dawn, bringing up, we use a company to do that. Lisa is specifically really good at posting and engaging, but I think it's important to recognize in yourself, what are you good at? What are your strengths? If that's not one of them, you've got to hire people to help you do that.
And a word that's thrown out there on the regular is be authentic, like to the point where, okay, what does that even mean? Well, when I first started, I went to a conference in New York City. And I was just new, trying to develop my social media. And there were like 3 or 4 individuals that got up and spoke and be authentic, be authentic. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. But, I was still just like, the word itself was like, all right, what does that mean? Finally, a woman got up there and she was talking about it. And the way she broke it down, I was like, I get what you're saying. When you're starting out and you're new, like, yeah, be authentic, but you go and you look at other accounts and you see what they're doing. And what you can do is you can not necessarily copy it verbatim, but you can do it in your own way. And as you do more and more and create more content, you find who you are. Because number one, it is super time consuming to create content. Takes a lot of time. So when you're wanting to be authentic, what that means is you don't want to continually copy somebody else because it's so time consuming as it stands the way it is creating content. You just want to be yourself because the content creation will evolve in a manner that you are yourself. So, initially you start out copying, looking, but then you've got to get into a space where you are just doing what comes natural to you, and it will evolve.
Planking.
Yes.
I don't know what that means.
Lisa planks. So Lisa, it's a very important thing to her, right?
Like a
every
physical
day.
plank?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So on my social media, a girlfriend started planking, and then I started planking and put it on social media. And then I just encourage everyone to plank 15 seconds, 30 seconds. You're on your elbows, you're on your toes. And then I just ask everyone to tag me when they plank. And so it's just a fun.
I love it.
energy driven thing. And it's kind of funny. The people that have actually tagged me on their planking.
What is this new term, planking? I wasn't thinking.
It's actual planking. It's an exercise.
You know, for me, the original branding is just your reputation, right? You are only as good as your name. You're only as good as the reputation that you carry around with you. And I think that your branding has to be reflective of that. You might have great branding, great social media, and if you've got a crappy reputation, that great branding is only going to take you so far.
True.
So the anti to fake it till you make it. Yeah, there's that balance, right? Yes. You know, I mean, that goes back to just being prepared. I think what you said, Lisa, about finding somebody that is compelling to you and just see what they're doing. I mean, that's the way to get started. And you don't have to spend a lot of money. I mean, it takes time or money, I think. But it's just a matter of figuring out your unique qualities, being yourself, and just sharing stories. I think stories are the most important way to tell who you are. I have been so terrified to tell people about my story, where I came from, what I've gone through to get to this point. And, you know, within just the last year, I've started just exposing that. And that has been very difficult for me, but it's been something that has kind of lifted me up, I think, because if you're not being your genuine self and you're not able to tell your story, then can you tell other people's story? You know, I mean, you've got to be able to tell your own story first.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. You know, another thing that I think is really helpful when you are thinking about your branding is, what are you giving people? Some of the best content I have seen is truly just free information, right? Putting out information that gets people interested or just thinking about, okay, what does this person have to say? Giving people free content, free advice, free tips and tricks, whatever it is, I think also helps in that process.
And then when you're sharing, you encourage other people to share. Right? Share something that is genuine to what they have happened. And you don't feel so alone also, if you're able to talk about, you know, great things and hard things. Just don't sugarcoat it.
Well, it makes you human, makes you relatable. So you have to put your face out there. You need to put your voice out there, whether you're doing in person or social media. You have to get to know your audience and let them get to know you. It'll all shake out. You will build relationships and it will go from there. And then it'll just continue to evolve your personal brand. So Dawn, it had to be really nerve-wracking, but yet totally uplifting to truly put your story out there.
So it was. I mean, I talked to Chris about it a lot before it happened. You know, I just talking about some things going through childhood and just going through those things and remembering those things and putting those out in the public sphere is just, it's uncomfortable. But I think a lot of us have gone through hard things. And if you listen to somebody else's story, you know you're not alone. I think that's the most important thing about just, you know, relating, like you said, relatability. You know, you've got to be able to relate to people. And what we do, what I do in this industry, I mean, you're dealing with a lot of trauma. You're dealing with a lot of things that are difficult. And if somebody is coming to you for help and advice, hopefully they want to be able to relate because of what you've been through.
Yeah. I mean, for what I hear y'all saying is you have to be vulnerable, right? You have to I think part of being your authentic self is opening up and letting people see that it's not always perfect. It's not always easy. In fact, most of the time it's pretty hard, right? Being vulnerable and kind of trusting people with that information, I think gets you closer to really being your authentic self.
The hard part about that is in this industry, you know, weakness is preyed upon. You know, I mean, for the longest time, I mean, especially for a trial lawyer, the other side is always looking for ways to learn how they can win, how they can beat you. And that's just the way of this world. That is what we face on a daily basis. So if you're putting yourself out there, and I mean, you just have to be careful too, because there's going to be people that are going to be looking for things that they can use against you. And that's a harsh reality of it.
That's a great point. And I would look at it like this. We all have weaknesses, right? We all have weaknesses. And I just like in your cases, no case is perfect, especially if it's going to trial. And you have got to find a way to take your weak facts, your negative facts, and turn them into positive facts, or to turn them into at least neutral facts. And I think that if you kind of take that approach to whatever personal weakness that you might have, embracing it, first of all, being aware of it, embracing it, you're never going to be able to work on a weakness if you haven't first identified that, but really trying to embrace your weakness so that people can't use it against you.
You know, that's the goal.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So much easier said than done, right?
That's the goal. But I mean, when it comes down to it, like you were talking about, Lisa, I mean, it's all about being human. I mean, this is a human experiment, right? We don't know exactly what's going to happen. We don't know how we're going to react to something or how somebody else is going to react to somebody or something. You just have to walk through it, be present in the moment. And if you're branding yourself and putting yourself out there, just make sure that you're learning what is essential to who you are, like the whole elevator pitch, right?
True.
Well, because branding is so personal, right? What is the gut check that you do with the feedback, right? Are you in the comments sections? That could be a very scary and dangerous place to be. But is that the point of it? You're putting out content. You want to see how people relate to that. Where's the balance of taking constructive criticism, not getting bogged down by maybe negative comments? How do y'all do? Lisa, you are a social media pro. What do you do with that?
You have to get thicker skin. You can take it into account and evaluate it. And I think initially you're going to like turn your tail and run and just avoid. But as it goes on and you're consistent, you'll be able to figure out if it's just somebody being a hothead or mean or whatever the case may be. But,
or if there is some constructive criticism.
True.
Okay.
And so, it'll just be interesting. Same with this podcast. That's why we are encouraging feedback and input and comments, just because we want to continue to grow. So when you get those kind of comments, you really have to look at them like, this is an opportunity to learn something. This isn't being done to me. This is being done for me. And it can be like traumatic when people say truly ugly things, but you just have to take it and look at it, tear it apart as objectively as you can, and see if there's something you can learn from it.
How can you be better?
That makes me think of the poor exercise that I put my clients through. And that's when we're doing a focus group and lawyers get a chance to practice and present their case, and they are getting feedback from mock jurors. And we specifically asked these mock jurors to give feedback on the lawyer's presentation style. And what I always tell my lawyers is, listen, read the comments. If you find some constructive criticism, take that, but also take things with a grain of salt. Don't, you've got to sort of be able to filter out those just mean and hateful comments from, I could work on X, Y, or Z.
Yeah. I mean, the hateful comments versus the constructive criticism, I think that's the line you've got to walk on. But yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's hard.
And I would say it's easier to get those types of comments from strangers. But when you have to be prepared. You might get comments like that from what you would consider a friend or an acquaintance. I think that's more difficult to digest and accept, because it was like, did your mama not teach you if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all? I mean, that's what I think when I read those comments, especially from someone who knows me. I mean, that's where I'm left. So, it's a part of it, but I just think it makes you a better person, and it just helps you. I keep using the word evolve. It's a journey, and you have to embrace it, because it's not going to happen all at once. And the thing about it is that there's no one thing that's going to put you exactly where you need to be. You have to go through it day by day, step by step, and your brand is going to evolve. Like you're in different seasons of your life, you gain more experience, you move positions, you end up in maybe management positions within a firm or whatever. Maybe you go out on your own and you're working like Kellye. Like your brand is going to change and it will evolve with you. And you just have to be aware of that to stay relevant, to stay interesting, to stay engaged. It's super important.
Yeah. And I would just really encourage you, make sure that the substance and the style are equally matched. Make sure that the style isn't overwhelming the substance or vice versa.
Build both at the same time, substance and style.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. I hope this has been helpful, and hello at
ladiesinlaw.com, and that's ladies, the letter N, law.com.
We'll see you next time.
See ya.
Bye. Thanks for listening to today's episode of Ladies in Law. We hope you're walking away inspired and ready to shake things up in law and business. Don't forget to hit subscribe and let us know what you think. Spread the word and share this podcast with your network. Follow us on socials for all the behind-the-scenes fun and sneak peeks of upcoming episodes. Until next time, keep rocking it, keep breaking the mold, and as always, keep aspiring to inspire.